And then also at the end of the book, they have the original Pogo strips that were published through the New York Star, which was it went under.
Yeah, the New York Star was obviously a New York City newspaper that is no longer around. And they were the first ones to publish the Pogo comic strip until that newspaper folded, and then Pogo began its national syndication. So those Star strips represent kind of a proto-version of the strip, and they recycle some of the storylines that appear in those Star strips in the early Pogo dailies. So that was an interesting historical kind of extra that they were able to put into this first volume, because the first year was not a full year.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun to see how some of the characters evolved through that too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Porcupine started out as he looked like a porcupine more, and then as it went along, he looks into kind of what we see in here, which is kind of like
very stylized looking character. He doesn't look as much like a porcupine as some of the other characters look like the animals they are supposed to represent.
Yeah.
But he's a great character, as we said. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. No, yeah, it's interesting because when you start reading the book, and if you start with the dailies at the beginning, it really is quite shocking how fully formed the strip is. Usually, like, strips take a while to kind of really solidify the characters and build a cast, and even for the artist to really kind of settle on his drawing style. But Pogo, right out of the gate with the first of the nationally syndicated dailies, was really fully formed, which is very impressive. Now, when you go back then and look at the Star strips, though, which preceded the nationally syndicated daily, you realize that, okay, here is some of the formative material that led up to it. And then you also have to keep in mind that Pogo, also really unusual, usually it's the other way around, Pogo began as a comic book series. They did Pogo stories first in Animal Comics. And then it became a comic strip in the single paper, and then it became nationally syndicated. So it sort of had a reverse, progression from comic books to comic strips, as opposed to something like, Popeye going into comic books after the strip becomes well known. So that's kind of interesting about Pogo too, and that's probably kind of why it also is such a fully formed world by the time the first of those nationally syndicated strips finally appears.
Yeah. So a lot of fun.
Well, one more thing too we should mention about this volume that is interesting is that one of the things that Pogo is most known for, one of its most famous distinguishing features, is not yet in evidence really in these first 2 years, and that is Pogo is a famous political satire. As the strip will progress, we will see that it will become very, very involved with the politics of the day and satirizing particular political events and figures. So reading this first volume, Kelly has not really gotten to that yet. He's not really made that a part of the strip. There are a few sequences which could be read as sort of overt comments on political situations, painting with a really broad brush. There are some gags about atomic energy in here. There's a trial at one point which R.C. Harvey likens to McCarthyism, which was going on at the time these strips were published. But that aspect of the strip will become hugely prominent in upcoming years. So I'm not a Pogo expert. I don't know how quickly it's going to become part of the strip. But it's interesting that these volumes are really more about the gag work and the adventure material and the drawing. But the element of Pogo of political satire will become one of, if not the most primary features of the strip. It's something that the strip is very well known for. And when that happens, R.C. Harvey's Swamp Talk column, which appears at the end of this volume, explaining various references and cultural things that are going on at the time of the strip's creation, will become invaluable. Because I think it's going to be hard for modern readers to connect with a lot of that material for these political events that in some cases have been long forgotten, or nearly so. But I trust that Fantagraphics will do a really great job with the supplementary material in future volumes, as they have done here, so that we can all keep up. Because that's one aspect of something that Kelly is well known for that I'm looking forward to reading. Because I haven't read much Pogo up until this point.
I haven't read any before this.
Right. So we're off to a great start with Volume 1, and we're looking forward to Volume 2.
Yeah, great looking book, and
beautiful.
Check it out. Right. Thank you again. Our next episode is going to be a kind of a year-end wrap-up, and then we'll look forward to some books from the next year.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's been a great year in comics, though.
For sure.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time.